Good afternoon, partners, colleagues, and participants. Welcome to the Climate Conscious Cities Urban Act webinar series. And today's session titled Digital Innovation for Smarter Low Carbon Urban Mobility. My name is Sanjeevani Singh, and I'm with the Environment and Development Division at ESCAP. And I'm pleased to be your moderator for today. For today's webinar, we have received more than 200 registrations from across Asia and the Pacific and beyond. And that level of engagement reflects both the continued strength of the Urban Act platform as well as the relevance of today's topic. The webinar series is part of a broader Urban Act project, and we are now in the third year of the Climate Conscious Cities webinar series. And over the past 2 years, the series has attracted more than 4,000 participants from over 70 countries. In terms of the objectives of today's session, so the purpose of this webinar series is really to strengthen the understanding and practical knowledge to support integrated climate action in low carbon and resilient cities. It also aims to highlight emerging innovations and approaches, build partnerships across institutions and regions, and to share lessons and good practices from the Urban Act project with a wider audience. As part of the registration process, participants were also invited to share what they hope to learn from today's session. And thank you to everybody who has submitted questions, and your inputs will really help us today to shape the discussion and ensure that it remains relevant and practical. And we really aim for these sessions to be interactive and responsive to the needs of the participants. And then also would like to highlight the next upcoming webinar, which will take place in March. Before we proceed, just a few housekeeping notes. The first one is, please note that this webinar is being recorded and will be made available to participants together with the presentation slides after the session. Please also feel free to use the chat box to engage with other participants. And if you'd like to direct a question to the speakers, kindly use the Q&A function so that we can track and then address your questions effectively and efficiently. Okay, thank you. And with that, I think let me move to the introduction and provide you with a brief framing for today's discussion. So urban transport sits at the center of the cities and climate agenda. It is one of the fastest growing sources of greenhouse gas emissions in Asia and the Pacific region, and it influences air quality, energy demand, land use patterns, fiscal sustainability, and social equity. For city governments, mobility decisions shape whether climate commitments become a reality, yet many cities are managing fragmented systems, institutional constraints, and limited financing while attempting to transition towards low carbon pathways. Digital innovation is increasingly positioned as part of the response, and emerging technologies, real-time data systems, geospatial analysis, and AI-enabled tools offer new opportunities to improve planning, optimize operations, and strengthen accountability. However, technology alone is not transformative. What matters is really an enabling environment. This includes governance frameworks, data standards, institutional coordination, and financing mechanisms that allow digital systems to translate into measurable climate outcomes. It also requires regional cooperation, and mobility systems, data ecosystems, and supply chains do not operate in isolation. Harmonizing standards, sharing lessons, and regional platforms can also accelerate the implementation and avoid fragmentation. At the same time, digitization must remain people-centered. If these systems do not improve reliability and accessibility and the user experience, they will not shift behavior towards low-carbon mobility options. And without behavioral change, emission reductions will not be sustained. Today's discussion will explore these issues through three lenses: regional policy, alignment at a city level, and implementation, and analytical and modeling innovation. With that framing, let's begin our program. And we'll move to the first speaker. And it is my pleasure to welcome Nathaniel Martin, who is an Associate Economic Affairs Officer from ESCAP's Transport Division. Nathaniel will present policy insights from ESCAP's work on smart mobility in Asia and the Pacific, including how integrated user-focused mobility systems are evolving across the region. With that, Nathaniel, the floor is yours and you have 7 minutes. Over to you.
All right, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks very much for the opportunity to speak today. My presentation draws on a recently published ESCAP technical report on smart mobility in the Asia and the Pacific, which examines how digital technologies are transforming transport systems across the region. In my presentation, I'll focus in particular on how digitalization is shaping urban mobility at the regional level, what this means for sustainability and climate outcomes, and what policy actions are needed to move forward. Next slide, please. So to begin, I'll briefly touch on what we mean by smart mobility and why it has become such an increasing priority for ESCAP. Across Asia and the Pacific, transport systems are under increasing pressure. The region is home to around 4.8 billion people, or about 60% of the global population, and urbanization continues to accelerate. The transport sector is also a major contributor to climate change, accounting for around 1/4 of energy-related greenhouse gas emissions globally. In many cities in the region, transport systems are fragmented, with limited integration across different transport modes, services, and operators, leading to inefficiencies and congestion. So in response, the concept of smart mobility has emerged, reflecting a shift toward understanding mobility as a more integrated and data-driven system. In the report, we define smart mobility as integrated, user-focused transport systems using digital technologies to make mobility safer, smarter, and greener. To give some examples, smart mobility can include solutions such as real-time information systems, shared mobility, demand-responsive transport, and integration of ticketing and mobility platforms. Next slide, please. Across Asia and the Pacific, we see continued progress in smart mobility, but also significant variation within the region. So in chapter 2 of the report, there's a detailed regional, sub-regional, and country-level analysis with a range of examples from different countries of how different solutions are being piloted and implemented. In the last few years in particular, and one of the major focuses of the report is looking at the increasing use of AI, big data, and digital platforms to make transport systems more efficient, as well as growing investment in intelligent transport systems and digital infrastructure. We find that while the region is moving forward, the level of readiness and the types of solutions vary significantly across countries and even within countries. This observation is also reflected in the Urban Mobility Readiness Index in the chart shown on the right side of the screen. So one observation from this index is that Asia-Pacific cities in general are slightly above the global average for urban mobility readiness. So the region is broadly keeping pace with global trends. However, the average masks significant disparities. For example, Singapore ranks 3rd out of 70 cities globally, but on the other hand, several cities in the region are among the lowest ranked. If we look at the components, we see the region performs relatively well in public transport and technology adoption, but the region lags behind the global average in sustainable mobility. This suggests that while many cities are digitally ready, there remains a gap in translating these strengths into consistent emissions reductions and low carbon outcomes. Next slide, please. Digitalization can offer a range of benefits that are directly relevant to low carbon urban mobility. From an environmental perspective, it supports reductions in emissions through its potential to improve system efficiency, optimize traffic flows, and enable better management of demand. The report highlights that domestic transport emissions in the Asia-Pacific region reached 2.8 billion tons in 2024, exceeding Europe and North America combined. Smart mobility solutions can help address this. For example, AI-based traffic management systems have been shown to reduce vehicle stops by up to 30% and emissions by around 10% at intersections. In addition, large-scale electrification initiatives also demonstrate a lot of potential impact. Just to give one example, in Shenzhen, according to city estimates, the electrification of over 16,000 buses has reduced emissions by approximately 1.3 million tons per year. Beyond environmental benefits, though, digitalization also supports economic efficiency. It can improve accessibility for underserved groups, enhance the user experience, and strengthen resilience through real-time monitoring and adaptive system management. It can also improve governance by enabling more data-driven planning and decision-making. Overall, digitalization contributes to transport systems that are more efficient, more sustainable, and more effectively managed. Next slide, please. Turning to the challenges, the report highlights several key issues. So first, there is an uneven readiness to deploy smart solutions across the region, both with regard to infrastructure and also institutional capacity. Second, many systems remain fragmented and not fully integrated, which can limit overall system performance. Third, there are important capacity gaps in data and digital systems, which can prevent data-driven planning and also the use of advanced technologies such as AI. And finally, there are limitations in policy integration and coordination, including at regional and sub-regional levels. As a result, many of the initiatives that we see remain pilot-based or implemented in isolation. Taken together, these challenges continue to limit the ability of cities and countries to scale smart solutions and translate them into system-wide and low-carbon outcomes. Next slide, please. So now looking at the way forward. Looking ahead, the work ESCAP has done identifies several key areas for action. First, in terms of planning and strategy, there's a need to move beyond individual projects toward more structured and coordinated approaches. This includes assessing readiness, identifying priorities, and aligning digital mobility with broader transport and climate objectives. Second, capacity building is essential. This means strengthening capabilities in data, digital systems, and artificial intelligence, as well as improving governance frameworks and interoperability. Third and lastly, strongly regional coordination and knowledge sharing will be important. Regional platforms can support the exchange of policies, standards, and best practices while helping to align approaches across countries. At the same time, cities remain central to implementation as they're often where solutions are tested and refined in practice. These actions are important to move from fragmented pilot projects towards more integrated and scalable systems. To conclude, smart mobility presents an important opportunity for the region. The region already has strong foundations, including growing digital adoption, expanding transport systems, and increasing policy attention. A key challenge is to ensure that these advances translate into measurable outcomes, particularly in reducing emissions and improving urban mobility outcomes. Ultimately, digitalization is about making transport systems more sustainable, more inclusive, and more resilient. And with the right policies, capacity, and coordination, digitalization can play a central role in shaping the future of urban mobility across the region. Thank you very much, and I look forward to the discussion.
Thank you, Nathaniel, for your presentation and for sharing those valuable regional insights and also highlighting some recommendations in terms of the way forward for cities and governments. With that, we now move on to our next speaker, and we shift from a regional perspective to a city-level implementation perspective. And it is my pleasure to welcome Mr. Amit Kumar Jain, who is the Director of Operations and Services at the Delhi Metro Rail Corporation. And Mr. Jain will share Delhi Metro's experience in advancing digital innovation to strengthen public transport and support low-carbon mobility, including lessons from implementation and the last-mile integration. Mr. Jain, the floor is yours, and you have 10 minutes. Over to you.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks. First, I'd like to thank the organizers for this opportunity. So, context has already been set, and what are the gaps, what policy solutions are required. I'll be directly moving to the case study of Delhi Metro, what we are doing to promote smart mobility, public transport through digital means. Next, please. First, let me tell you about Delhi Metro, then we'll be moving to the retail solutions like ease of booking, mobility as a solution, door-to-door booking services, our chatbot, smart parking, and how we are displaying CO2 saving on the ticket. Next, please. So DMRC is kind of lifeline for the city. We have a network of 395 kilometers in Delhi, which is the largest network in any of the city in India. Our punctuality is 99.9%. We perform 4,000 trips per day, and we carry around 7 million passengers journeys a day. Next, please. So coming to the digital solutions. So how to book a ticket on a metro system? That is the first friction point that people come across. Our tickets are available through multiple channels, like WhatsApp is one of the channel. We have UPI solutions, Amazon Pay, Phone Pay, Paytm. We have our own mobile app. You can get a ticket in less than 1 minute through these applications. Then we have multiple types of tickets like single journey ticket. We have a smart card. We also have digital smart card, which we call virtual card. Then we have a national common mobility card, which can be used across multiple metro systems, not only for Delhi Metro, but the same card can be used in Chennai Metro, Mumbai Metro, and across other metro systems. Then payment can also be made through multiple modes. So please see I like to demonstrate you how ticket can be booked through WhatsApp. Next slide, please. So it's very easy. You just send a message hi on the number. It asks for you or language selection. Then it asks for you that whether you want to book a ticket or last journey details. If you want to buy a ticket, just click on buy ticket. It will ask you for the origin station and the destination station. And there's a menu. I mean, you can select origin and destination station from the drop-down menu. Origin station, Adarsh Nagar, then destination station is being selected. So once you have selected origin and destination, it will show you the fare, and you can make the payment for the fares using multiple means. UPI is one of them. It asks you to review the ticket, make the payment, and you get ticket in less than 1 minute. Yes. See, the QR code has been generated, which is the ticket to make entry and exit from the station. Next, please. Then our mobile app has been developed as a mobility as a service system. So what customers want, they don't want to travel only by metro, but they want a complete solution. So on one mobile app, we have provided services, not only metro, but other transit modes also. Next, please. So this is the user interface for our mobile app. Like you see, first plan your journey, where you can book ticket for metro. Then you have door-to-door service option. You have options for booking bike, taxi, auto rickshaws, women bike. You can book ticket for IRCTC, which is the long distance train tickets for Indian Railways. Then you can also book ticket for the buses, ticket for the RRTS, which is Rapid Rail Transit System, booking of the ticket for Noida Metro, which is adjoining city. So on one platform, you can book tickets for all the modes of the transportation. Then there is a one button, take me to the nearest metro station. You see on the left side bottom, take me to the nearest metro station. This is single click button. If you click on this, it identifies your location and it tells you which is the nearest metro station. Once you select nearest metro station is Raji Chowk, and it will take you to the nearest metro station using bike or auto. You can book ride by bike or auto just in a single click. So on one mobile app, we are getting all the services. Next page. So this is how door-to-door service is
Welcome
being
to the
booked.
tutorial on how
Please
to
carry
plan
on.
and book a door-to-door journey in the Delhi Metro Sarthi app. On the home screen, tap on Travel with Door-to-Door Journey. Enter your destination and, if needed, edit your current location. The app will then suggest the nearest metro stations and the best route for your trip. First, book your journey to the metro. You can choose a bike taxi or an auto from the drop-down. Next, select your travel mode for your metro journey. You can purchase a QR ticket instantly or travel using a smart card or virtual smart card. Now, the final step, book your ride from the metro. Again, choose a bike taxi or an auto from the drop-down and select the metro gate where the rider will pick you up. Complete the payment and you're all set to begin. You can then request your ride to the metro, access your QR ticket, or request your ride from the metro. That's it. With Delhi Metro Sarthi, enjoy a seamless and convenient door-to-door travel experience.
In single interface, you can book complete journey from your location to the nearest metro station, then from nearest metro station to the last metro station, and then from the last metro station to your final location. In single booking, you can do all these 3 bookings and make single payment. Next page.
Welcome to the tutorial.
Next page, next page. Then we have a chatbot, Chetna, chatbot for efficient transit and navigation assistance. This is supported by AI, large language model. It gives you complete information. Next page, I'll tell you. Yeah. Next page. So through this chatbot, you can get information about the DMRC network. You can plan your journey. You can get information about fares, station facilities, first and last metro timings. You can ask general queries. Yeah, next page. So there is a small demo how it works.
I want to go from Rajiv Chowk to Lakshmi Nagar.
Start your journey by reaching Rajiv Chowk metro station. Then from platform number 3 towards Vaishali, take the metro to Lakshmi Nagar, which will take around 13 minutes. You will reach Lakshmi Nagar metro station after passing through 7 stations in about 13 minutes via this metro route, for which the total fare will be 30 rupees.
What is the fare between these stations?
The fare between Rajiv Chowk to Lakshmi Nagar is 30 rupees in weekdays and 20 rupees at weekends.
Yeah. So this chatbot have facility of interacting through voice. It is available into 3 languages, and it is a contextual chatbot. So let us if once a question is asked, if second question does not even specify the stations, it will tell you about those stations. Like in this conversation, in the second question, it didn't tell about the station names. It just asked the fare between the 2 stations. Then it understood that we are talking about Rajiv Chowk and Lakshmi Nagar. So this is a contextual chatbot, and it also has facility of providing you end-to-end journey. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. So like if I ask how to travel from my location to Pushp Vihar, you see in the yellow highlight, I'm asking about my location to Pushp Vihar. It will tell you that from my location, first I need to go to Rajiv Chowk metro station. Then from Rajiv Chowk, I need to go to last metro station by metro. And then from last metro station, which is Malviya Nagar, I need to go to Pushp Vihar by walking or by taxi. So it is telling me complete navigation from my location to the last point. Next, please. Then we have a concept of integrated event ticketing. Like there is a fair called Suraj Kund Mela. It happens every year. So we provide integrated booking for this ticket, which means that a person can book ticket for the fair as well as for metro in an integrated fashion. You see in this picture, fare is for the fare it is 120, and then you can also buy metro ticket, which is 40 rupees, and you can pay 160 rupees in one go. So it is integration with the events. Next, please. Then we have smart parking at most of our metro stations, whose occupancy you can see online on our mobile app. It helps in park and ride facilities because many of the metro users, they want to come to the metro station by their own cars and park their cars at the metro station and then use the metro. Next, please. So like it is showing that at a metro station, which is Qutub Minar, the total slots are 50, out of which 24 are available and 26 are occupied. So a metro user customer can see on the mobile app on real-time basis the real-time occupancy of the parkings, and he can decide that which parking to be used. Next, please. Then on our metro ticket, QR ticket, we are also printing that how much carbon emission you are saving when you are using metro. So like on this ticket, it is showing congratulations, you are saving 144 gram of the CO2 emission when you are using metro. It is based on how much distance you are traveling and how much carbon emission is being done by metro and by car, and difference of the two is shown as the saving. Yeah, next. So these are some of the use cases of digitalization that we are using to promote metro travel. And it includes complete mobility solution, not only metro, but end-to-end solution, which includes first mile and the last mile. Some of the challenges that we faced in the implementation are like technical integration. Like for end-to-end solution, we have integrated with the taxi service provider. So we need to develop an API, integrate with the service provider. Then there are financial issues like apportionment of the payment, how payment will be collected and how it will be apportioned among the different service providers, reconciliation of those payments. And we found that drivers want to collect these payments in the cash mode. So earlier we were collecting payment in the digital mode, but now we have also included option of making payment to the driver directly in the cash. One other challenge we faced that these service providers like Uber, Rapido in India, they want to use their own app. They don't want to come on board on any other organization app. So, but Rapido has agreed, and now we have integrated with the Rapido. We are also working with Uber to bring them on our app. But in general, they have some hesitation in coming on board on any other's app. Some of the learnings are like for a city, you need to find out some low-hanging fruits or quick win solutions, and which maybe in terms of facilitating the customers. Like making a mobile app is not a big thing now, and you can use a number of generative tools to write the code. So cost of developing chatbots and mobile apps is coming down. And for the cities, I think first we should focus on how to promote how to use digital solutions to promote use of metros, making it frictionless. Complete journey should be frictionless, and the digital tools can be very, very helpful for that. That's the end of my presentation. I'm open to any questions. Thank you.
Thank you so
Sorry
much.
if I have taken more time than allotted. Yeah, thank you.
No problem. I think we're still good. So thank you, Mr. Jain, for your presentation on Delhi Metro's experience in advancing digital innovation and smart mobility. I think the one thing that really stood out to me was the focus on the user interface and also in the focus on providing integrated end-to-end solutions. So I think that was very helpful. Thank you so much. We now move on to our last presenter, and it is my pleasure to welcome Yannick Roth from the University of Stuttgart. Yannick will present work on network planning for sustainable transport, including analytical and forecasting models developed in collaboration with Urban Act. And Yannick, the floor is yours, and you have 7 minutes. Over to you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Yannick Roth from the University of Stuttgart, and today I'll demonstrate how we use generic data to build transport models that allow cities to plan for a sustainable and resilient future. The goal is to provide digital tools that make low-carbon urban mobility planning accessible to every city, regardless of their starting resources. Transport is the second largest CO2 emitter globally, responsible for up to 25% of emissions. Especially in the Asia-Pacific, these numbers are still rising. And therefore, it's necessary to think about measures reducing CO2 emissions. But as each city has individual requirements and own characteristics, there's not one single-fits-all solution, but still several measures are possible in every city worldwide. We need measures like promoting electric vehicles, improving public transport, and avoiding urban sprawl to keep the journeys short. We can also use traffic engineering to control inner city congestion and prioritize sustainable modes. To quantify these measures, we need a well-funded analysis and not just assumptions. And transport models can provide exactly this input for example, so-called sustainable urban mobility plans. But for that, we need data. Different data allows for different levels of analysis, from simple supply analysis to complex travel demand models. This slide is meant as a reference, so I won't discuss it in detail, but you can have a look after the presentation. Depending on data availability, different levels of analysis can be performed. If we have information on networks and timetables, then we can evaluate service quality and identify disruptions. If we then add data on residents and workplaces, we can analyze the accessibility to places by different modes. That way we can, for example, forecast land use and accessibility changes. And with data on trips and model preferences, we can estimate how well the supply meets the people's needs and forecast traffic volumes. And you may notice that for the supply and land use model, the data requirements are quite manageable. But still, traditional transport models are built as unique time-consuming projects for every city individually. And this led us to ask, why not standardize these manageable data requirements into a generic database structure to automate the process? The logic is that we automate the core model building process by processing global open source data. We use GADM, Global Administrative Units, for boundaries. We use GHS for population and OpenStreetMap for both activity locations and the road network. So while the template automates the core, it still remains flexible so cities can integrate their own local database, for example, population data, transport line routes, or traffic surveys where available. This allows any city worldwide, especially those lacking in expensive in-house datasets, to generate a working decision support tool in just a few hours of automated processing. But still, it's important to note that this should not replace existing, more detailed models a city might already have. It rather provides a functional framework for the evaluation and allows planners to focus their expertise on measures rather than model setup and model control. So now let's look at possible evaluations we can do with this generic model. From OpenStreetMap, we have the information regarding points of interest. For our analysis, we apply a methodology using functional areas: education, shopping, health, leisure, government, services. And each has different weights. For example, university has a greater area of influence than a kindergarten, same with a shopping center or a small retail store. Here you can see the analysis for the Urban Act case study cities of the German universities, namely Bacolod in the Philippines, Chiang Mai in Thailand, and Panaji in India. With this data, we can then locate important hubs within the city. These are so-called central places and can be found through an intensity analysis of the points of interest. This is where local knowledge comes in and plays an important role to improve the automated findings. But what can we do with this information? Generally, the goal is to have a good and quick accessibility to these central places by sustainable modes, both when traveling within the city, but also when traveling to other cities close by. To analyze the accessibility within the city, we perform an accessibility analysis looking at travel times from each location to, for example, the nearest central place. Here we can see the example of Chiang Mai and the accessibility by public transport. You can see that zones close to central places have a great accessibility, but you can also see that zones on corridors where good public transport connection exists have a better accessibility than all the other zones in red and gray colors. For these, we have likely car-dependent areas because public transport supply is not sufficient. And by improving public transport, it's possible to make people switch to more sustainable modes. By looking at the connection between the cities on the country level, we can categorize the road network into different hierarchies. There are more important roads like motorways, which are required for connecting larger cities. These are the red-colored roads, and smaller places are or places of less importance are connected through secondary and tertiary roads. And there should never be a road with high importance passing through or close to the city center, because road space there should be prioritizing other more sustainable modes, And that should clearly be seen in the street layouts as well. So now we know the importance of each road for the motorized traffic, but we can use our data for pedestrian traffic as well. There's high pedestrian traffic when the concentration of points of interest is high and when the population density is high. And in and between these areas, we need to prioritize public transport, walking, and cycling. As Germans, we're known for having many regulations, and so is true for the design of urban road space. Here you can see possible design solutions for an urban road. The methodology is always similar. We start by analyzing design requirements from different actors, then look at traffic volumes and compare it to the available road space. The result is then possible design solutions to allocate street space fairly among all users. And this helps city planners in real life as well. Of course, it's always a long way and it takes time to reach an improved street design. From a busy shopping street with mainly motorized vehicles to a one-way road with bicycle lane, to an area prioritizing pedestrians, and lastly, removing the cars from the design. It's worth it to improve the conditions to help the development for low-carbon urban transport. So to summarize, by overlaying sectoral networks for all modes, we can realize the requirements for the design of the road space. And now for the last months of the Urban Act project, we're working on automating the entire process and trying to suggest a starting idea for an improved line-based public transport for any city worldwide. Thank you, and I look forward to the discussion.
Thank you, Yannick, for your presentation and for sharing the detailed work that you're doing around analytical and forecasting models. That was very useful. Thank you so much. We will now move to the next discussion, and this is a moderated discussion, and we will also reflect on or answer some of the questions in the Q&A box. We did receive, I think, a really wide range of some thoughtful questions during the registration process. And I think many of those questions focused on how digitization can move beyond data collection and translate climate commitments into measurable and accountable urban transport action. So to begin with, I think I'll just start with one round of questions for each speaker, and then we will check in on the Q&A box and take a couple of questions from there. So I'll start with you, Nathaniel. And my question that I've drawn from the list that we received is, how can digital mobility tools and low-cost data be directly linked to national climate commitments and measurable emissions reductions? Let me repeat that. How can digital mobility tools and low-cost data be directly linked to national climate commitments and measurable emissions reductions? And if you could just answer in 1 or 2 minutes. Over to you.
Sure. Yes. Thank you for the question. So in response to that, I would say that digital tools can help to make the link between transport and climate commitments more concrete. So these digital tools can provide us a lot of very rich data on how transport systems are functioning. And this data can allow policymakers to understand the relationship better between mobility patterns and emissions. So for example, data on congestion or vehicle flows can be used to estimate emissions and assess the impact of different interventions. And that can create an opportunity to move toward more measurable and outcome-based approaches where policies can be adjusted based on results.
Thank you so much, Nathaniel, for that response. We'll now move to Mr. Jain. And the question that I have for you is, how is the Delhi Metro using passenger, energy, or operational data to support broader city or national climate targets rather than only improving internal efficiency? And I think it's the same question that's in the Q&A as well. So I can repeat that if needed, otherwise.
No, that's fine. Yeah, thanks for the question. So, like I said, Delhi Metro is providing end-to-end solutions, and we are kind of lifeline for the city. model share in the city for Delhi Metro is around 30%. So 30% of the people are traveling by metro, and which is a significant number in terms of the public transport. And 35% of our energy comes from renewable sources, and solar power is the one of them major source of energy. On our stations, on our depots, we have installed rooftop solar panels, and which we have installed capacity of 50 megawatt, and we are further enhancing it. So we are participating in, I mean, at city level interventions also. We are providing, we are able to do control of the carbon emission through these measures. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Jain. And then we'll move to Yannick. So the question that I have for you is, what are the key data gaps that currently limit accurate emissions tracking and evidence-based mobility planning?
To calculate emissions, we need more details on the exact trips people perform and the modes people use for these trips. If we had information on how many trips they take per day using a car, using public transport, and walking, then we can perform these calculations. But unfortunately, at that moment, we can only guess these values to then sort of provide a first potential analysis of CO2 emissions. But if these, if we had surveys and people told us about their typical activities, then that would help.
Thanks so much, Yannick, for that response. Okay, we'll just look at the Q&A box, and we'll move to, I think, the second round of questions. Maybe I'll go back to you, Nathaniel, and ask you the next question. So given that ESCAP is a regional intergovernmental body, my question is, how can ESCAP help ensure that digital mobility strategies across Asia and the Pacific move beyond pilot projects and become scalable national systems?
Okay, thank you for the question. Yes, and you're right that one of the key patterns we see is that there are a lot of strong pilot projects in the region, particularly at the city level. But then scaling these to national systems is challenging. There are a lot of issues at play in institutional coordination and interoperability that can be challenging to deal with. I think ESCAP can play an important role in supporting knowledge sharing, helping develop common frameworks that countries can adapt to their own contexts. And in terms of the report, it highlights, yes, that countries are at very different stages of development. So ultimately, we need to develop flexible approaches rather than solutions that are one size fits all. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Nathaniel. So I'm looking at the Q&A box and just gone to right to the bottom. So we'll look at the last question, and the question is, one of the main challenges in data collection is its high cost, especially for primary and real-time data collection. Is there any experience in any city regarding poor data quality and how to overcome this issue? I think this question can be answered by both Mr. Jain, and then after that, Yannick, if you have any reflections on that as well. So over to you, Mr. Jain.
Yeah, so yes, that's data collection is a real challenge, and whether the data is consistent, accurate, and reliable data. Fortunately, in the Delhi Metro, we have installed a automatic fare collection system. So every travel data is available through this AFC system. But that's not good enough, because we need data of all the modes of transportation, as said by earlier speaker as well. So in Delhi, we have developed a Delhi stack where data from all the transport modes is collected, like travel data from DTC, Delhi Transport Corporation, which is bus service provider here, that is also being sent to the Delhi Transport Stack. Data from Delhi Metro is also available there. And the same data can be accessed by the policymakers, by the service providers, and this data is quite useful as well as accurate. So learning is that data can be developed for a city, and all kind of data can be pulled at one location. It also requires lots of support from service providers as well.
Thanks so much, Mr. Jain, for those reflections on the importance of data and how to better mainstream that. And then, Yannick, any reflections on that question?
Everything you saw from my presentation is based on open data, so we can provide exactly these results for any city worldwide. And this was one of the main ideas or main thoughts we had in mind, because we know that data availability in the cities is always different. And so we looked at generic and open source data. And yeah, I think with what I presented, you got a great insight of what is possible without expensive data collection. Yes.
Thank you so much, Yannick, for your response. So there's some interesting questions in the chat box. There's one that the question is, how do digital tools shift power in urban mobility systems from public authorities to private tech companies, and what are the safeguards that are needed? So obviously for providing integrated smart mobility across cities, it requires the engagement of various stakeholders. So what are your thoughts on this, Mr. Jain?
So first, why private companies will come forward? That's the issue. Like when we were engaging with service providers or last mile solutions, they came to us because they saw that we have customers. So otherwise, Rapido, Uber, they want to work on their own systems. So first, the solution that we are offering should be win-win for the public authority like DMRC, for the private authority like taxi service providers, and for the customers as well. So that's what we have done on our mobile app. We are providing integrated end-to-end solutions, which is good for everyone. And private authorities are also happy because now they are getting bookings through our mobile app, which they were not earlier getting, or they were not getting so many earlier. And we have also facilitated them by providing some physical infrastructure at the metro stations, like where is the pickup point, drop-off point at every station. So the customers also know that pickup of taxi is available at this gate at this point. So they need not, worry about where to get the taxi. I hope that answers the question.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Jain. And I think you highlighted a very important fact in terms of ensuring that it's win-win solutions for all the stakeholders that are involved. I think that's one way to move forward and build engagement, commitment, and sustainability. So thank you for that. I'm now going to move to you, Nathaniel. There's a question right at the bottom, and it says, how does digital mobility align with the United Nations Economic and Social Commission for Asia and the Pacific's Sustainable Transport Agenda? If you could respond to that.
Okay. The question was, sorry, how does digital mobility align with ESCAP's Sustainable Transport Agenda?
Correct.
Yes, so actually ESCAP's transport agenda comes under, ESCAP has a regional action program that it renews every 5 years, essentially, for transport. And digital mobility is one of the 7 areas that ESCAP covers, and this will actually be renewed this year. I think conceptually, if you look at the core objectives of sustainable transport, including improving efficiency, reducing environmental impacts, and enhancing accessibility, digital tools can support in all of these areas. So for example, in the report, we show how data-driven systems improve traffic flow and reduce emissions, which not only helps efficiency, but also contributes to environmental sustainability. At the same time, tools like passenger information or integrated ticketing, like we saw today, improve accessibility and the user experience, which is a key part of making transport systems more inclusive for everyone. I guess I would add that there's also a very strong link to the SDGs. So transport is connected to the goals around infrastructure, cities, and climate, and digital mobility strengthens all of these areas by making systems more efficient and better integrated.
Thanks so much, Nathaniel, for those insights. Yannick, I'm going to move to you next. There's a question here which I think would be good for you to answer. It says, have you created a technology database or technology assessment for prioritizing technologies for transport, I would say the transport sector at a country level, and to share good practices between countries? And further, are these technologies mainstreamed in urban missions and climate smart city missions? What would your experience suggest? So basically, I think if I summarize that, have you developed technology, or have you done modeling or analysis of at a country level, and have you, compared different modeling or analysis for countries, and what are the emerging good practices or lessons that are coming out?
The model consists of two main parts. We have a detailed analysis for the city, but we also have to include the rest of the country and potentially also neighboring countries because they have an impact on the city. So if we think of long distance traveling from one city to another city, this is what I did with the road network categorization. We have to make sure that no important road passes through the city center, and we can only see that by looking at the entire country scale and the cities surrounding our city of interest. But this is the main focus we have when working with the model. So we specifically are interested in city level measures and not that detailed in the country level measures.
Thanks so much, Yannick. I think there's one more question I want to ask you. The question is, how can integrating transport supply, land use, and travel behavior models improve the accuracy of forecasting future accessibility and travel demand in urban planning?
The more data we have, the better we can forecast changes and forecast accessibility. If we have information on more detailed land use development plans for the future, we can analyze how these areas are currently connected and what needs to be changed to have them better connected. If we have detailed information about the transport supply, then the entire model is more detailed as well. I'm not quite sure how to specifically respond to that question. It's relatively open. The more data we have, the better.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. No, thank you. Thank you for that response. I'm going to move now to Mr. Jain. I have a question for you. And the question is, what key performance indicators are most useful in evaluating whether digital innovation is genuinely contributing to low carbon mobility?
Yeah, thanks. So some of the key KPIs are like how many people are using digital tools for booking the ticket. Like for Delhi Metro, 80% tickets are booked through digital means. And then second is how many people are using digital mode of payment, like UPI, net banking, those kind of payments. And I'm happy to share that around 75% of the payments are through digital modes. Then third KPI is that how many people are using our chatbot. I mean, they can interact through chatbot, they can also interact through helpline. So like we get around 5,000 queries per day on our chatbot, which is responded very quickly. Then next important KPI is that how many people are using last mile options through our mobile app. I mean, they may be using through other means also, but how many of them are converting to mobile DMRC mobile app for using last mile services? Around 5,000 bookings per day are done through our mobile app. So these are some of the KPIs, like how many passengers are using digital ticketing, how many are making payments through digital means of payment, how many of them are using chatbot, how many of them are booking last mile services through our mobile app. these are some of the KPIs that we are measuring for assessing the performance of our digital tools.
Thank you, Mr. Jain. Nathaniel, we're going to move to you for one more question. And if any of the other speakers also want to respond on this question, then you're welcome to chime in. The question is, can digital tools support policy enforcement and adaptation to climate risks?
Yes, thank you for the question. So I guess I'll address both separately. So in policy enforcement, digital systems make it much easier to monitor what's actually happening. I remember I was recently reading an example of the scooters that are deployed in different cities, the electric scooters. And there was some sort of digital technology that would prevent you from riding the scooter too fast or riding it in somewhere it wasn't allowed to be taken. And this had a positive impact on safety. Other things like traffic cameras and sensors and data platforms can also support enforcement, of course, such as other traffic regulations. In terms of climate risks and adaptation, we actually have some projects at ESCAP that look exactly at this topic in the Pacific. So we are actively deploying weather monitoring and traffic forecasting tools to help these countries when there is maybe a climate event. How can this be forecasted, and how can we plan to reroute traffic in order to minimize the impact of these events? So that's what I would say. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nathaniel. I think that brings us to the end of the moderated session. So thank you again to all our speakers, as well as to all the participants for the questions that you have provided. I think we had some good engagement and some really thoughtful and practical contributions today. So in closing, so I think in today's session, we have explored digitization from a regional policy, city-level implementation, and analytical perspective. What has come through really clearly, I think, is that digital innovation delivers the greatest impact when it's aligned with governance frameworks, institutional capacity, and measurable outcomes. And I think there was also a big focus on data and the importance of having data to support the digital innovation. And the other key thing that came through is that technology alone is not sufficient. It must be embedded within planning, accountability, and inclusive implementation. And I think this came through from all of our speakers. So to wrap up, the presentations and materials from today's webinar will be made available following this session. This marks the first webinar of the 2026 Climate Conscious series. We will continue with monthly discussions over the coming months, each focused on practical pathways towards low carbon and climate resilient urban development. As I mentioned earlier, this webinar series is part of a broader Urban Act project. It serves as a platform to strengthen knowledge sharing within the project and to connect with partners, cities, and practitioners across the region. Before we close, I'd like to encourage you to complete the feedback survey. You see the QR code on your screen. You can access it by scanning the QR code or by, I think, clicking on the link that was shared. And if you'd like to receive a certificate of participation, please make sure that you complete the survey and answer the 3 content-related questions in section 6. Thank you again to all our speakers and to the Urban Act team and all of you for your participation and engagement in today's webinar. Thank you so much and good afternoon.